Today I'd like to talk about something that means a lot to me. It's entitled From Studio to Table, Eating from Art. In today's society, we place a large emphasis on making sure that the food that we eat is locally sourced and healthy. We want the animals to be grass-fed and treated well. When we buy goods, we would rather they be handmade by workers that work in good conditions. Why then is it that we have no problem eating this humanely treated grass-fed food off of mass-produced plates made in sweatshops and sold at Walmart? On top of that, these type of dishes only serve to cheapen the experience of eating by making it mundane. Consuming fuel is a daily ritual that is required for us to survive, so why shouldn't we enhance it by incorporating art into that ritual? Most mass-produced plates are made by taking clay and watering it down until it forms a thick liquid called slurry. This slurry is then injected into a pre-made mold and allowed to dry. The piece is then removed by a machine and sent through a conveyor belt-fed kiln to harden the piece before it is sent through an automated glaze sprayer. These are sent to a large glaze kiln to finish the firing process. The result is a sea of perfectly identical and uniform pieces. This may sound ideal, as the result is a cheap and uniform dinnerware, but this is far from being truly ideal. The slurry that is used breaks down the molecular structure of the clay and makes it a weaker form. The fact that this method makes weaker plates is actually ideal for the companies that make them. Ask yourself this question: how many times have you chipped a plate in the sink, or after a short fall to the floor? Because these pieces are made to be perfectly identical, they require you to buy the exact same set that you had previously purchased. These pieces do not usually come as individual replacements, and you are forced to get a whole new set. Add this to the fact that dinnerware companies often discontinue their sets after 1 to 2 years, and you end up with the need to fully replace your set with a new one, and this creates a massive amount of waste. Handmade pieces do not suffer from these deficiencies. When a potter sits down to make a piece, the clay is meticulously wedged, a process where the clay is folded on itself to remove air bubbles and compress the clay molecules in order to create a stronger piece. This is compounded while the piece is being shaped. After each shaping pull, the clay is recompressed to lock these molecules into place and create a strong, dense form. What this achieves is a set of dinnerware that can potentially span generations while withstanding daily use. There is also a matter of visual interest that is achieved through handmade dinnerware. The potter focuses on making the pieces familial instead of perfectly identical. They are made to be the same size and shape so that they can be easily stacked and so that they can visually represent each other, but less focus is put on the piece being exactly like the ones before it. Bernard Leach touches on this subject in his 1940 work, A Potter's Book. In it, he states, "It is the uniformity of perfection that kills." He continues his thought by saying, "Technique is a means to an end, it is no end itself. If the end is achieved and a fine pot emerges from the kiln, let us not be hypercritical about fortuitous blemishes. Some of the most beautiful things in this world are full of technical imperfections." These words are significant because it illustrates that uniformity is not interesting. The eye does not hesitate and appreciate the individual parts of a uniform whole. This also translates to the consumer. The consumer will now have the opportunity to look for their dishes with the same eye that they use to decorate their house with art. They will have the opportunity to find an artist that speaks their individual aesthetic, which forms a closer bond to the craftsperson that created their dinnerware. This can be a very fulfilling and unique experience for the consumer. It will allow them to have an additional point of pride and talking point while hosting dinner parties. It allows the host to provide each guest with a unique dining experience, as well as a chance for the guests to compare their experience to the experiences of other guests. In closing, I would like to share part of why this experience is so important to me. Every morning, I wake up and I put water on to boil. I prepare my coffee press and walk over to my mug cabinet. In it are a couple dozen handmade coffee mugs and tea bowls. Each one is different. Each one represents how the individual artist envisions liquid moving from the vessel into my body. My eyes pass over each one until I find a vessel that speaks to me that morning. While my coffee steeps, I make my breakfast and repeat the same steps to select a bowl or plate. I make my coffee and sit down for my morning ritual. I take this time to reflect on the things that I need to do that day while I hold this amazing piece of functional art in my hands. It is a peaceful and essential part of my daily routine, and I urge you to support local craftsmen and see how handcrafted functional art can enhance your life. Thank you. I had a wonderful time this semester.